go, Cowboy Nation. Let's roll with this thing. Appreciate everybody for tuning in to the nation. Victory Monday, right? We back at it again. One way or another. Really appreciate each and every last one of you all. It is what it is at this point, Cowboy Nation. We find a way to win and to win early and often, and that is nice. That is always wonderful for us to have this W and for us to be back on this Victory Monday. 7 out of 8 games we was doing this show, and I really appreciate everybody for being supportive of this team, especially since we were 3-5 and everybody counted us out and everybody was saying, okay, this team would not be able to do this nor be able to do that. So we made it, baby. We are back into the mix. We got to play the Seattle Seahawks on Saturday night. It's going to be one of those games where we have to be all ready to play regardless of the situation. I think that the coaching staff for the Seattle Seahawks is a very crafty coaching staff. They figure out ways to win games. They do. So we can't fold up like lawn chairs at this point. We have to still stay positive. And let's just talk about this too. The Dak Prescott. 4 touchdowns, 387 yards, man. That's something remarkable. Amazing, right? So let's see if we can add those on top of, next week and see if we can continue to push this thing down the field. Shout out to Virginia Finest. Appreciate you. He said Notification Swad, Victor Medley, as well as a Beast Mode 1, 2, and 3. Well, we're going to tune into first thing first. You guys know how I do. I always do the comparisons, analysis. Shout out to Dallas Draft Boys. Appreciate you too. Let's get this thing going one way or another. Appreciate everybody. Don't forget to hit that like button, share this content, and enjoy this Victory Monday.
Dallas Cowboys, they already secured the division title, had nothing to play for except momentum heading into the playoffs yesterday, taking on the New York Giants. Dak played the whole game, threw for 387 yards and 4 touchdowns.
He did.
Some good mojo for the Cowboys as they prepare for the Seahawks in the opening round of the playoffs. Here is Dak Prescott on his mindset in a, quote, meaningless Week 17
all about
game.
Mindset, right?
Going into this game, playing the New York Giants, wanting to get win number 10, this meant a lot to us, and you saw it out there, just the intensity that we played with, the ups and the downs, and just how we stayed through it, and just stayed positive, knowing that we were going to give ourselves a chance to come out on the end. It was a great win.
All right, David.
Yes, indeed. So he talked about a little bit about intensity, right, and staying positive. And guys already know that all throughout this year, I've been saying, look, guys, we got to stay positive. We got to get our minds together, and it's happening right now. All we got to do is face what we got in front of us, play our style of football, and continue to do the things that we know to do. And that's playing some good grimish type of football game. And utilize Ezekiel Elliott down the line, of course, and then on top of that, man, did I talk about TOP? It will happen next week. Watch. If you don't believe me, just watch, right?
I think a lot of people surprised that Dak Prescott not only played, but played basically the whole game until you see how well he did and how much that really helped this team in this offense moving forward. How dangerous are the Cowboys now entering the playoffs?
Well, number one, going into that game, no Ezekiel Elliott, no Zach Martin on the offensive line. They wanted to rest their players. Smith. But Dak Prescott is not a player that can sit back and rest. He needs experience. He needs reps. And the one thing that this game did up against the New York Giants, it gave them playoff experience moments. Think about the 2-point conversion at the end of the game. That's something that you want to practice and prepare for when you're going into the playoffs. And for them to be able to overcome this game in the fourth quarter without all of their starters on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, it builds a lot of confidence for them. But the one thing that this offense goes through Ezekiel Elliott to open up things for Amari Cooper downfield. But for Dak Prescott as a quarterback, to take the most sacks in the NFL as a mobile quarterback, that's something that in the playoffs, he's going to have to use those legs to force defenses to play 11-on-11 football to open up seams, to open up things on the backside, because that's when he plays his best. He has to get over the stigma. I'm not a just running quarterback. I've got to throw it and have that cliche in his back pocket, because his thing is when you get play action going, when he gets outside of the pocket and he can use those legs to his advantage minutes to change the launch point. He makes everybody better on that offense. And that's the intangible that everybody wants to see out of Scott Linehan. It's not just Scott Linehan, it's Dak Prescott as a quarterback.
To me,
no doubt, when you're talking about the intangibles of Dak Prescott and what we need to see and what we want to see out there on the field, this is the thing altogether. I'm seeing growth factor. I say this a lot. You know, we looked at Blake Jarwin a couple of weeks ago when he was open and Dak Prescott threw behind him a little bit, and he tried to adjust on the ball and it just didn't connect. But we saw this past week, or yesterday, the connections were there and the seam routes. Remember, I said this all offseason and beginning of this season as well, is that a quarterback best friend will always be the tight end and trust in the pocket, and also with the running back. When you have those things all merging together, man, it is nice and it's nasty. It's just one of those things where we can go back. The Jay Novaceks of the world, even Jason Witten for Tony Romo. And then if we can go back to like other teams like Brent Jones for the San Francisco 49ers. And we saw what happened with the Travis Kelce with the young Pat Mahomes. I mean, tight ends normally their target percentages are always high because they're like 6'4", 6'5", and beyond. So now that you got a guy that you can utilize in the middle of that field, it immediately calls for mismatches. Now you got to figure out, do I put my linebacker on this tight end, or do I put my safety on this tight end, or do I drop my linebacker and my safety a little bit deeper? And what that does to the running game, it opens up everything. So this was a much-needed game, in my opinion. I'm glad that he played this entire game. Now we can really focus on, okay, how can we sprinkle in Tavon Austin? How can we get Amari Cooper more involved? So those are things that we got to look at. But let's listen to some more of what they have to say.
This was as meaningful of a meaningless game as I can remember. The Cowboys couldn't improve their seeding. They couldn't hurt their seeding. There was nothing as far as in the black and white standings to gain. But my God, did they gain a lot from this game.
Yes.
To win a game like this, Dak, who's most of his career's had 3 All-Pro offensive linemen. This year's had 2 All-Pro offensive linemen. He had 0 in this game. Travis Frederick's been gone all year. Zach Martin, Tyron Smith don't play. All career except for 6 games last year, he's had an All-Pro running back. Doesn't have him either. All year, he's had an excellent defense. That defense, not so excellent yesterday, all of a sudden. And to come back the way they did, they were up 14-0. They squandered that lead against the Giants. And to come back the way they did, 4th and 15, a touchdown strike to Cole Beasley. Dak throws for, what, 387? The second most yards. It's the first 4 touchdown game of his career. It's the second most passing yards of any game in his career. Right. And it was all him. Like, the one reason the Cowboys, I have not taken them seriously as a championship contender all year, is number 4. Is because I don't trust their passing game. And in Week 17, even if it's mostly a mirage, they have something to build upon now. I do believe in momentum going into the playoffs. I do believe a team can all of a sudden capture something. Like, you don't think the Seahawks now in the game plan, they're like, Jesus, we got to Blake Jarwin? Like, we got to worry about Blake Jarwin now? And so there are little things they gained by not only winning the game, but winning it without their 3 best players on offense.
Right.
Zach Martin, Tyron Smith, Zeke didn't play. They scored 36 points.
Yep.
They were playing the junior varsity, though. Let's be honest. You know, it was really no threat against the Giants. They don't really have a pass rush, so you knew he was going to have time to improvise and do those off-schedule plays.
I don't know what he's talking about. Olivier Vernon, he did play, and he's no one to sneeze at. So I don't think you can discount that, Scott. But Olivier Vernon, he is a beast, and he is nasty off that edge. Then on top of that, if you add into the fact that we had dangling parts out there as far as offensive line, you can't discount that. Come on, man. Get your weight up, fam.
I think it was good for him to get some confidence, get some work in, some situational football, but they were going against a juggernaut. I mean, and this is a bad matchup because what I love about the Dallas Cowboys is that they can out-physical you, right? Because they can run the ball with Zeke downhill, they can limit your possessions, time of possession, and also then that allows you to make the shots. You look at how the offense is performing since Amari Cooper's come. They're up 40 yards. You know, the third down percentage is up because now the linebackers have to come up, and now
pass
you have
yards
the guy.
Are up 70.
Yes.
Right, so now you can make plays downfield. You can have the explosives. That was the problem before, right? Cole Beasley is pretty much a possession receiver. He's a guy that can move the chains. But now they're going against arguably, one of the toughest teams in the game. You talk about their whole philosophy. It doesn't matter that they're not the Legion of Boom anymore. They have a fast, physical offense on both sides of the ball. And Russell Wilson is a better version of Dak Prescott. He's who Dak Prescott aspires to be. And this is just a bad matchup. This has one and done for me written all over.
There are a number of things that you, Nick, were looking at.
All right, so if we look at the first game against the Seattle Seahawks versus the Cowboys, I think it was at Seattle. One can argue the fact that Ezekiel Elliott, it wasn't his best game, although the stats didn't show it. He had 2 fumbles or something like that, and he stepped out of bounds and caught a pass up the field, scored, but it was looking like, hey, he was out of bounds. So they took that back. So now you have a fresher Ezekiel Elliott, and I don't think they got a Earl Thomas out there. Now, they do have Frank Clarks of the world. They do have Bobby Wagner, who is a vicious, and I'm talking about a nasty type of linebacker out there. Coleman kid, he's solid out there playing safety or free. And who else they got? The Griffin, both of those guys. They pursue to the ball like no other. But I'm saying that now it's a home game. We got a little taste of blood. We want to be able to really say to ourselves, okay, all right, you guys beat us earlier this year, but now it's like revenge. I don't think that Ezekiel Elliott would have like the poor performance that he had the first week whenever they played the first time, what have you. I think it was like week 3 or week 2, something like that. But it is what it is. All we got to do is play our style of football. Yes, TOP is something remarkable, but as much as everybody praises number 3, Russell Wilson, he can have his bad hiccups too. So all we got to do is play our style of football, and we'll get this thing going one way or another. Let's listen to some more what they have to say.
With this Cowboys team that said you would feel better about Dak Prescott in the offense, and one of them was red zone efficiency. Yesterday they were converting 3 of 4.
Right. They once again they start the game off poorly in that regard, and then they, just like the week before, they were good on the following possessions. You mentioned the sacks. Dak and Deshaun Watson are the 2 most sacked quarterbacks in football. With Deshaun, it makes sense. They have a terrible offensive line, and he is asked to do everything. With Dak, it shouldn't be the case. So they have to get better there.
Come on, man. I hate when they say that.
I'm not saying they're going to beat Seattle. Seattle, you mentioned Russell Wilson's better than a better version of Dak. They actually even run the ball better in Seattle than they do in Dallas, even though they don't have a guy like Zeke. But to win a game where you rush the ball 22 times for 51 yards, win a game when your defense gives up 35 points, it was a gamble by Jason Garrett, not only to play Dak, but to leave him in the whole game. There were multiple times throughout the game where you could have taken him out, said, hey, great job, you got us a lead, you put us in position. He left him in there to where the Cowboys could be going into the playoffs feeling terribly. We blew this lead. The Giants, who are our JV team, like you put it, beat us in a game where we were playing our guys.
Or worse, injuries.
Right, or injuries. And it looked like Leighton Vander Esch got dinged, but I think he's okay. Like, the Cowboys took a big gamble this weekend in my eyes, David, and I think it paid off tremendous.
I think it did as well, because if you look at 2007 when we played the Patriots at the end of the year, people told us that we should rest that game. But the one thing that it did is, even though we lost the game, it built confidence for us because, hey, if we left a couple plays on the field up against the undefeated Patriots team, we know that we're capable of beating teams that aren't as good as the Patriots. And that's something for the Dallas Cowboys that they did yesterday, to overcome that game in the fourth quarter, to do it with a game-tying drive, and then to seal it with a 2-point conversion. What more could you ask for to end the season on a high note with momentum going into playoffs, knowing that you have a Seattle team like this that runs the ball over 50%, that Russell Wilson feels secure now in that pocket to get the football downfield, something he did in the beginning of the season, to do that at home up against this team that you know you're going to have to control the time of possession.
So the Dallas offense feels good, but the Dallas defense has to feel terrible.
Without a doubt.
Who you got next week?
Well, this is the thing. So when you talk about the Dallas defense, guys, remember this. They didn't start scoring. The Eagles, I guess the Giants, didn't start scoring until they put D-Law on the bench. And if we look back at the game, a lot of those guys on the defensive side of the ball, they wasn't playing at full speed. And this is not me making excuses, but if you go back and watch the game again, you can see some of those plays, that the big long run from 68 yards off of the inside. There was a block in the back that no one called on. That's cool. That's all right. But we don't play as Saquon Barkley every day, right? And then on top of that, my guy Sean Lee, he didn't get his head around, he didn't flip his hips out, and he didn't disengage. So on that run, that big explosive run, one can argue that was really based upon the quote-unquote rust factor of Sean Lee. Now, this is the other thing. The two big passes that was caught on the number 31, those deep passes that number 12 was able to do. I forgot this guy's name for the Giants. One can argue that Eli, he loved to gamble. And Eli was just doing Eli type of things. I don't think that Russell is the guy that's going to take those type of throws in a game. Now, can Russell throw the deep ball? Yes. But the thing is, you got to understand, too, it's a twofold. What makes this defense better, believe it or not, is Ezekiel Elliott. T.O.P. when he runs the ball, everybody know, tick, 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 tick. The clock is moving out the way, and that's just how the bottom line, that's how it goes, Cowboy Nation. I wish I can say it in another fashion or another way, but it is what it is. Trust me, when DeMarcus Lawrence get back out there and that front four get out there, you're not going to just go around and putting up 30 points. That's just the bottom line. I can't just say this much longer, but it is what it is. Let's listen to some little bit more of what they have to say. And Lattimore, appreciate you, Ben Henderson. Appreciate you. Lattimore was able to catch those passes, and he did a damn good game.
Next week, I will pick the Seattle Seahawks. I will say this, even though they have Jalen Smith and Van Der Esch on that side of the ball, I just think that the Seattle Seahawks, the way that they've turned around this season, the way that Pete Carroll gets them ready for game time games and the experience in the scenarios, that's a lesson of building from adversity. When nobody believed in you as a football team, all you need to do is get in the dance now. It's not about your record before the season. It's about how you capitalize on it now, and I think the Seahawks will.
All right, let's take a break.
All right, so with that being said, so I love it. I love it when everybody doubt my Cowboys or our Cowboys, right? We got to love this, and it is what it is at this point. All we got to do is continue to do the things that we need to do, and just taking the way of the game, the way we play it, and that's just the bottom line. Quick shout out to those that's in the chat box. Really appreciate you all. We have Prodigy. Appreciate you for joining in on the Periscope. Victor, thank you for being part of the mix as well. Who else we have here? Jonathan Cook, appreciate you. What? No defense? Hey, man, the defense going to step it up. Just a bunch of haters. Cowboys will prove them wrong again. This is Sammy Dredd. Yeah, so it's every week it's a new hater. You know, it's a new hater every week. It's a new philosophy saying, okay, well, one week, well, we can't pass the ball. The next week, well, we can't run the ball. Now it's the defense part of the situation. We'll see. It is what it is at this point. All we got to do is play our style of football. Shout out to Prodigy. He's saying Eagles Nation. Shout out to the Eagles, man. I appreciate you guys for making it into the playoff. You know, you guys are the defending Super Bowl champions. Let's see if you guys can continue to hold that crown. But one way or another, Cowboy Nation, all we got to do is play our style of football. Let's go one way or another. That's been my time. I really thank you all for yours. And remember, you're listening to nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing but the best. Salute. Let's jam on out, baby. Let's get this thing going one way or another. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go with it. Yes, it's all good. Don't forget to hit that like button. Share this content. Let's go, Cowboys Nation. One day at a time. Victory Monday. Yes, indeed. Yeah. Yeah, let's go, Cowboys Nation. Don't it feel good to have that victory? Yes. We jamming on out now. What it is, guys. It is what it is. Cowboy Nation all day, every day. All right. And remember, you're listening to nothing but the best.